Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name's Martin Soulsby. The presentation today is on the new Foundation Coach qualification and how you can get one. So, there's quite a lot of information I'm going to give, which has been out there. Presentation last year, it's been out in the magazine. So I'm going to whip through some stuff, so I'm going to apologise for that now. And again, it's out there in all documentation. But again, if I say something you don't understand, stick a hand up, I'll ignore it. It'll be fine. Everyone feels validated then, so it's good. End of last year, I had someone contact me and ask me why I was doing this and who I was to be doing this. So a little explanation of who I am and why. Back in 2020, I asked council that we have a look at the current coaching structure. Was it fit for purpose? We put together a working group. I was chair of that working group, made some recommendations to council, which they accepted. Going forward, they asked us to implement them, which is what we've done, and that's how we've ended up with the Foundation Coach Manual. My background was I was chair of council from 2011 to 2020, so not the last chairman, but the chairman before that. In joke, that was. Tash, you were meant to laugh. And I have an extensive background in FS competition, so I've been coached by what I believe are some of the best coaches in the world. I have coached teams, I have coached individuals. So I have a very keen interest in coaching, and I've seen some very good examples of bad and good coaching. Start with the negative. What is not happening? We are not removing the current coach ratings. You can still renew them, you can still gain them. Those are still carrying on. This is not about technical skydiving skills. So if you want to learn how to do Block 14 well, how to dock a two-way CF stack, this is not the right room for you. And also, this is not an attack on our current coaches. There are very good coaches out there with very, very good skills. This is about making our coaches better. Better skills, better skydives, ultimately better retention of members. So I said, what's not ideal? And I will whip through these, I apologise now. Current ratings, total focus on technical skydiving skills. To become an FS coach, there's very little on actual how to be a coach. Raises the question, method of instruction, is it fit for purpose? Not just for coaches, but for instructors as well. Controversial statement, there's a large number of current coaches that are either uncurrent or old school. And I justify that by saying in 2022, there were 467 FS coaches, majority of those renewed. So how many of those actually currently are coaching FS, are up to date with current FS techniques? Forget about actually are they good coaches. There's no progression. You get your coach rating, where do you go? You go anywhere. You have your sticker and that's it. It's an in-house award. Something BPA, British Skydiving, developed, we award. It's our own little badge we give around. If you turn up to your children's football association or RFU coaching and go, oh, I'm a coach. They go, oh, really? Yes, look here, FS coach. And I go, oh, thanks. Even our sister organisations, USPA, APF, etc., don't recognise it. We don't recognise theirs either, but that's neither here nor there. The techniques can become very outdated and prescriptive because there's no CPD, there's no need for development for you as a coach. You've got your sticker, that's the way I've always taught head down carve, that's the way I'm going to carry on teaching head down carve. That could have been 15 years ago. There's no reason for you to change. Again, the driver, better skills, better skydives. So what is it? So the Foundation Coach qualification is going to create a consistent, high standard of coaches. Anecdotally, everyone has an opinion about, well, I'm a good coach, but God, there's so many other coaches that get their stickers, their ratings that aren't very good. So this will actually have an externally verified qualification process. There will be quality assurance throughout the whole thing. It's open, transparent. This is a nationally registered accreditation. It's backed by Ofqual. Ofqual, it's registered with Ofqual. It is a qualification with Ofqual. Like, show my age now, O-levels, but GCSEs, A-levels, etc. We've developed 3 levels, so there's a progression. There's a journey you can go through on your coaching. It's to provide our members with the highest standard of coaching possible, to have confidence that the coach in front of them has the best, most up-to-date coaching knowledge. And that's backed by our partner, UKCoaching. Also, it's to provide a safe and positive training environment. A great statement. Sounds, yeah. It's what you expect on the side of a van or something, isn't it? Yeah, it's very bland. What does that really mean? So for you, as a coach going through this process, it means there's going to be open and transparent assessment. At the end of that process, you will understand, are you competent? Are you not yet competent? Why are you not yet competent? The person assessing you will explain, write it down, and you will actually have a discussion about that. So you will understand going forward what you need to do. So it's no longer, oh, you weren't quite good enough. Go away, do a few more jumps, come back. There will be, laid down in front of you, what you need to do to improve. Why you failed to meet the standard. Equally, you've met the standard, but these are areas of weakness you need to improve on. And better skills, better skydives. Now, I've used quite a lot of terminology already, and I make no apology for it. If you met someone who said, I'm a skydiver, how do you know they're a skydiver? They tell you. If you meet someone who's a skydiver and they go, oh, I love it, under canopy, pulling the bits of string, oh, it's great. You immediately look at them and go, no. It's the same. We're talking about a qualification which will be recognised across all other sports. So we need to use the same terminology that those sports do. Does everyone understand that? Come on, first bit of interaction. Yes. So we talk about CPD, continual professional development. Now, virtually everyone who's got a job knows what that is, so that's fine. We refer to the trainee coach as a learner. In this process, they are the learner. The participant is the member who is being coached by a coach. We have a training provider. That's a person or organisation that will provide the training. Within that, there are tutors, obvious what they do, and an assessor. Now, that could all be the same person, or it could be 3 different people. Doesn't matter. They collectively are known as workforce. That's nothing to do with how you're paid or anything like that. That's just the collective term for them. We talk about internal quality assurance, external quality assurance. And I'll go into more depth about that. And I've alluded to it already, but currently we have a coach rating. Something we award, back of an envelope, saw them in the bar last night. Yeah, you can do this. You've done a single 18, have your FS coach rating. Allegedly. This is a qualification, backed by Ofqual, with accreditation, with external quality assurance, saying that everyone who goes through this process has met a standard. And we've developed a foundation coach manual, which I'll go into in great depth. Okay. Any questions at this stage? Does that all make sense to everyone? Yeah, yeah. Hold fire. You've got to be on tape. Yeah.
I was just wondering, is this something that's already in place or something that's going to be put in place?
It's we're halfway.
Okay.
So we're registered with Ofqual, so the qualification is live with Ofqual.
Okay.
And I will talk right at the end about that, but we will be running courses this year.
Okay.
So,
yep. Thank
you. Any other questions? Cool. All right. So I've mentioned standards. Oh, so there was a question. I apologise.
Just to follow up on this question, I understand it's still work in progress, but do you have an estimated timeline around which the old way of giving coach rating is not going to happen anymore?
No, so the current coach ratings will carry on. They'll run in parallel to this system. This system isn't going to replace it, as in there will be a deadline.
If someone is trying to become a coach this year or early next year, for example, does it mean they will have to go through this new system?
You will have a choice. You have two systems you can go through.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? And I can see, well, I can see one person frowning, Lucy. And so just to explain that a little bit, why we're doing that, is the simple reason is that we want to take this nice and slowly. We don't want to have a cliff edge and say, okay, as of this date, no more coach ratings, it will all be coach qualification, because that would be unfair to people, because we don't have the infrastructure yet to roll those out. We have, using one of Craig's phrase, pre-pandemic, we're doing about 100 coach ratings a year, pre-pandemic. We don't have the infrastructure yet to be able to roll out 100 coach ratings, and also to take on board everyone who wants to convert from the current coach rating to the coach qualification. So we want to take this steady, and we want to make sure it's delivered right. Yes, sir.
So again, to follow up on this, I'm fully on board with what you just presented, and I think it's great to uphold better standards for coaching. But what will be the incentive for current and future coaches to go for a qualification over a coach rating? Because I'm guessing higher standards and external quality assurance and qualification means higher costs. So how are we going to handle this?
Can I actually, I know I said ask questions as we go. Can we save that question to the end?
Yeah.
Then once I've gone through the whole process, we can explain it a little bit. And actually, I'll mostly draw on some other people to answer that question rather than just me.
Thank you.
Because I don't know the answer. No, I do know the answer, but... Is that right, Tash?
I'm going to give an answer.
Okay,
I would do it. So
yeah, and I think once we've gone through the whole thing,
yeah.
and the costs are explained, then we can do that. Is that right? God, I love this. Well, no, not in control. Quite the opposite. It's good. All right. So again, quickly just whipping through. I keep talking about standards, and just to kind of draw us back to where those are. There's an organisation called CIMSPA, which is the Chartered Institute for the Management of Sports and Physical Activity. They were tasked about 5 years ago with by the government to produce a set of professional standards for sports and physical activities. And it's everything from running sports centres, management sports centres, to teaching disabled or children and things like this. But they have, for us, some specific things, coach and elite coach, and a professional standards of what you need to meet. So that's what we've tied into. So that's how we've developed the qualification to meet those CIMSPA standards. We've partnered with UKCoaching, and that's a body, and we'll go into their website, that provides generic coaching information, how to be a good coach, what the qualities of a coach, etc. And their sister organisation, First for Sport, which is the accreditation body. They're the people who make sure all the paperwork's in the right format, and it's been the portfolio of evidence for your qualification, and they do the external qualification. And as I mentioned a few times, I'm excited about it. This is a qualification that has been verified by Ofqual. They're basically saying, yes, this is a proper qualification. And the qualification it's a level 2, and those who've come from other sports, there is a generally recognised level 1, 2 and 3 of coaches. So this is a level 2 coach, certificate in coaching, skydiving foundation skills. So we call that a foundation coach. You're frowning, I'll explain in just a second. So 3 levels of qualification, and why we call this a foundation coach. So the foundation coach is teaching foundation skills, one-on-one basic skydiving skills. So either post A licence or introduction to a new discipline. So just like our current coach ratings. And it's, you know, being able to award stickers. You know, FS1, Free Fly 1, 2, Wingsuiting 1, 2, etc.
How do you differentiate between FS and Free Fly coaches if it's one qualification?
Bear with us and we'll answer that question, Clive. Then we have, sorry, in my brain I'm thinking, honestly, I did say ask questions, but wait till. Advanced, next level was an advanced coach. And the idea is, so using the analogy, if we're thinking GCSEs is a foundation coach, advanced coach is more like your A-levels. And the idea behind that is you're going to show a track record of work, that you can manage either a person or a team through a progression of training. So they go from, say, single A to double A. Or, you know, you'll prepare someone to go to the nationals and they go through a series of training. Or you're doing large groups, so multiple plane loads, for instance, flocking, tracking groups, and the safety management around that, dynamic risk assessments. And again, the type of knowledge we need for foundation coach is an understanding of topics. For an advanced coach, we'll be looking at in-depth knowledge of topics. And then the third level is a performance or elite coach. And that's going to be a very specialist niche area. It's going to be purely aimed at coaches who are preparing individuals or teams to go to international level competitions. So national champions, etc. above. Now, one of the key changes, if you like, is very much at the moment our instructing and our coach teaching is very much what we call coach-centric. It's very from the top down. You know, we have lesson plans. It's very directive. You know, this is how, you know, you're going to do this dive, then you're going to do that dive. What we really want to evolve are coaches who have the knowledge and confidence that they can develop sessions which meet the needs of the participant, the person in front of them. You know, a very good example is, okay, why do you want your FS1? If it's like, oh, I've seen videos, I want to become a world champion in four-way. Well, you're going to brief that person very differently for their FS1 dives and subsequent dives than if someone says, oh, I'm just doing it because I want to do proximity flying. And you go, okay, right, so you just want an FS1 to be able to move three-dimensionally in a safe manner. Yes, right. So you actually adapt and change, so it becomes person-centric rather than coach-centric. Now, still a very important part of coach-centric within what we do because there's safety, there's technique, you need to teach that. But it's about giving coaches the confidence and the ability to adapt their training. So remember, it's not about you. It's about the participant, isn't it, Mikey? Yeah. Where is your focus of concentration? That's all I'm asking. All I'm saying is the focus there is all on the coach, isn't it? Yeah. Right. I tell you. Okay. So, any questions on anything I've covered so far? Thank you very much. You're learning. Right. Okay. So how do you become? Nice little Stu developed this little bit of graphic. There will be the Foundation Coach Manual. That will take you through guided learning with a series of online content from British Skydiving, UKCoaching. It's really small. I can just about read it here with my eyesight, so you've got no chance. Don't worry, these are topics we'll cover. Then with a training provider, you go through a series of face-to-face sessions where it'll contextualise the UKCoaching content, so you can understand what that is. And also, they'll be talking about the technical side of skydiving. How do you teach side slide? You know, what are the components necessary to be able to get a sticker for free fly 1 or 2? How do you demonstrate those skills? Then that training provider will take you through an assessment process. The assessment process is some written questions and answers, and then also some observed 2 ground briefings and 2 skydives. There's a learner pack where that assessment is all filled in. That, with other evidence, is then passed to British Skydiving, part of the internal quality assurance, who then will verify that qualification. So it's no longer that night in the bar, the CI decides that you're going to be teaching Free Fly 1 the next day. Not that happens, obviously, but okay. Any questions on any of that? Go on then, yes.
I'm just thinking, like, because you said of it being like a written assessment, I'm quite aware that a lot of skydivers have things like dyslexia and other learning difficulties that may make that challenging, and I think that's a lot of skydivers that have that. So what support to do them assessments would be put in place for that?
So yes, so we have, again, within the paperwork, and in the learner pack, you can actually, we can make all adjustments for that. It's actually a fillable PDF, so you can be doing spell checking and grammar check within that. So that covers dyslexia and some grammar issues. Also, like I say, the assessor will be made aware of that, and then will document what adaptations to the assessment process they have made. Okay. So yes, we are on that, and we can change all of that. It's what reasonable adjustments that we can make. And I think Stu, who can talk a little bit more about that at the end when we do that. Is that okay, Stu? Yeah. Any other questions on what I've covered so far? Oh, yeah.
Hi. Just a quick one around the provider or the training provider. Who will that be? Is that someone that's already in the sport, or is that an external body?
We'll cover that in a sec.
Okay.
Thank you. No. Brilliant. Okay, so you're interested in becoming a foundation coach. So the first point of call will be the British Skydiving website, where there will be the foundation coach manual. PDF document, so 23 pages, and a lot of the beginning information is what I've kind of covered already. It's not there yet, it will be there soon. And there are web links to it. The web links embedded with it. Some of it is on UKCoaching content. An example here, which is the code of practice for volunteers and instructors. And also links to UKCoaching. Now, UKCoaching is a fantastic site, a huge site with a lot of information on it. Most of it, though, is actually behind a firewall. There's a subscription, which if you buy off them is £24. If you buy off British Skydiving is £14. However, that would be a barrier to entry. So, what we're going to do is, drum roll please. Whoops. Oh, you bugger. Why is that doing that? There we go. It will be free for the first year subscription. So what you'll do is you say, I have a look on the Foundation Coach Manual, great. You phone British Skydiving and you'll say, can I have my free UK coaching subscription? They will give you a code. What will happen is then you will go along, whoops, come down now, come down. Join, obviously I've already joined. Anybody who's ever been coached by me knows I have an interesting relationship with technology. You sign into the website. That, first of all, obviously frees up all the subscription side. But what also happens is, if we tap here, you have a dashboard. Within the dashboard, welcome, coaches perks. They have an area which is your CIMSPA for your CPD points, which we'll come on to later. But also here on the left-hand side, as you can see, there's a little British Skydiving tab. If we tap on that, it takes you to, again, the guided learning content within UKCoaching that we've set up with them. So we have framework, we have modules we're recommending for you, plus 2 e-learning courses, a duty to care course and a sudden cardiac arrest. And these will be required learning for you to have cleared before you go on your course. And they present you with, they call it a digital badge, which then will, you'll be able to show your training provider when you turn up for your course that you've passed them. And they're not onerous, and they're free courses. So, and this allows you to go in and access all that content. Any questions on any of that part of it? Okay. So we go back to the coach manual, and as you can see, so we go through various topics, so introduction of the different levels, and then we talk about things like skills, roles and responsibilities of a coach. What are the qualities? 10 top qualities needed to be a coach, developing your coach philosophy. So if we look at the content like that, and the idea, there's however many pages of stuff here, there's some exercises, and it actually explains to you what coaching philosophy is, why you should have one, how you can develop your own, what's important, and actually how you would use it when you have one. And I say some exercises to do. Also, there's another 2 parts to the course, which aren't obligatory to do, but guess what? I'm hoping that you will do them, and you'll go off and follow it. And there's some other content thrown in as well. So it gives you an example. So when we go back to the coach manual, when I say it's 23 pages, there's obviously a lot more content behind that. And the idea is that you'll go through this at your own pace. And it might be you get through it and you go, do you know what, I'm not sure this is for me, which is absolutely fine. But what it is doing is helping you become actually a better coachee, to be able to receive, because you understand what people are trying to do. But also, even if you just stay with your current coach rating, you'll become a better coach because you'll have more knowledge and more information. Does that make sense to people? So the idea, once you've been through all this content, and we're talking developing mental resilience, dealing with mental pressures, duty to care, safeguarding, developing sessions, health and safety, development risk dynamic risk assessments, data protection. And some of this people will go, well, what's this got to do with skydiving? Why do I need to know all this? Well, we go back to the original point. This is actually meant to be a transferable coaching qualification. It means actually, rather than just pick and choose the bits that suit us for skydiving, for that small one part, this is meant to make you a better person. Big statement. But also it's transferable. It means that actually when you do go to netball or to basketball, you can say, yep, I've done duty of care. I know about DPR. Thank you very much. Yeah, but data protection. So I know about these things. Yeah. And then to finish it off, we have here, and these are taken from SDC Ops Manual and also from the forms, what's required, the skill base to become an FS coach, and also FS1 sticker requirements. So again, laying out the minimum requirements you will need before you can actually take part in your assessment, and also the skills that you will need to be able to teach and will be able to observe, and your participant will need to be able to demonstrate. Yep. There should be anything up there that's surprising to anyone. So, oops, let's come back. So we've been through the coach manual. Any questions on any of that UK coaching content, the coach manual, any of that? Brilliant. So, training provider. You want to select a training provider. So there will be a list on the British Skydiving website, training providers. You go along, you select your training provider. They will have possibly some pre-course training you need to do. You'll need to provide them with evidence that you meet actually the minimum requirements already, that you have, if it's FS, 2 years post first solo descent, C license, that you have 2 hours free fall time, that you have an FS1 or equivalent. So, and wingsuiting, it's 500 jumps, 100 wingsuit jumps, wingsuit 2 qualification, C licence. And you need to book yourself on a course. When you're booked on the course, you'll then become registered with First for Sport. They have an online database, which is a national database of everyone who's going through all their qualifications. So if you've already been through another qualification with a different sport, you will already be on their database. There's a £54 one-off fee for registering. That covers the cost of your qualification, the internal and external quality assurance process, which I said we'll talk about in a minute. So what will the training provider do? Now, for British Skydiving, all the training provider needs to do is provide a syllabus of how they're going to teach the components of the qualification. I have a vision of how it will be done, but each training provider will be different. So, and to me, there's two parts to it. The first part is that generic coaching content that comes from UKCoaching. It's contextualised by the training provider. It's fleshed out, but it's also discussion. So, you know, we talked about coaching philosophy. It's actually, why is that relevant in skydiving? What does that look like? What coaches have you had that have been really good? What do you think their philosophy is? Why do you have your philosophy? We talk about things like, you know, difference between goals and motivation. An example will be motivation. I always describe it is the hot embers of your passion and enthusiasm. Why did we become skydivers? What motivated us? And that changes over time. Goals tend to be more short-term targets we're aiming for. But there's difference. There's mastery goals and ego goals. And there's a danger. Ego goals are great. I want to get my FS1. I want to win a medal at nationals. But when you do that, they're a bit cliff edge. What happens afterwards? You know, we all know people who have achieved one of their goals, or maybe failed to achieve one of their goals, and then are like, I don't know what I'm going to do now. That's all I was focused on. Mastery goals are, I want to be the best I can be. I want to, you know, turn as fast as I can. I want to, you know, have the best landings I possibly can, not of my friends or anything like that. So actually, that's an ongoing challenge. That's never ending. So again, it's important as coaches that you understand that, and that's very contextualised into skydiving. You know, so it's understanding what people's motivations are, what their short-term goals are, and actually helping them develop more mastery goals, so it actually retains them in the sport. They keep their interest in your discipline. So that kind of conversation. And then the second part is very much around the specific skydiving skill. Okay, what are the components? You know, we talk at FS1 as the most straightforward, everyone will have done it. You know, 3-dimensional movement, forward, backwards, up, down, turns. Okay, so now how are we going to teach those? What are the, you know, how would you describe the technique for doing this? Okay, how about if we actually combine them? We do translational moves, so you're going to do a side slide and a turn at the same side. How would you instruct that? Why would you do that? Why would you, rather than do a session where I want you to side, and now I'm going to side the other way, well, let's combine moves. Why would you do that? So actually challenge you to think about why, how you develop your sessions, what you will get from them. Yeah? Any questions on that part of it? No, brilliant. And you know, I would envisage that could be a mix of online, current world, Zoom, Teams meetings, and then obviously face-to-face. Certainly all this practical skydiving part would need to be face-to-face. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the assessment by the training provider would be a series of written questions and answers, and then the observed 2 ground briefings, 2 jumps would be videoed. And this would all be your portfolio of evidence which would go forward for the qualification. So, sorry, any questions on that part of it? Oh, yes, look, you're all straight into this next slide, aren't you? So, a very important part of this is what we're referring to as the learner pack. This is where the assessment's done. And again, this is an official First for Sport document. So, the template is theirs. If you like, the words are ours. And you can see there, you know, this is the front page, you fill in the information. An example, you have to be over the age of 16, but that's for skydiving, yeah. Can you commute? Boom. I do the jokes, all right. Can you communicate in English? That's actually an Ofqual requirement to ask that. And part of it is, again, about adapting the assessment if they can't, but if they can't, can they communicate clearly, etc. So, obviously, proof of identity. And again, that they've passed this. And again, we have the assessor signs it and dates it, saying they've seen the evidence, and then the evidence for the quality, if this is being quality assured, the internal quality assurance will sign that as well, that they've seen that evidence. And that will be involved in the portfolio of evidence that goes forward. But those are kind of questions hopefully everyone could answer. So the type of questions we're talking about, now, we're not naive. We know what skydivers are like. This is a PDF that's going to get emailed out. We obviously will ask people not to share this, but we're very, very aware that within a relatively short time out in the wild, this will be reasonably widespread. So we are aware of that. So we've designed the questions to be open questions that are testing your understanding. Some of them are yes, almost yes/no answers, but most of these are explain how you understand this. What does this mean for you? So it's an open book test. Most of the answers are going to be in the Foundation Coach Manual or have been provided by the training provider when they've contextualised it. So there shouldn't be anything in there that is new to you. So again, you should be able to relatively quickly answer these questions. But exactly, they're pretty easy questions, but it's to make you think and be able to demonstrate your understanding. But also, when we do the practical demonstration on the ground and in the air jump, some of this will be tested by the assessor as well. So it's not just, okay, you answered these questions right, but when I asked you on the ground about it, you couldn't answer it. That's not relevant. And again, there are some skydiving questions. I'm really hoping everyone could answer today that second question. Bad answer. So, who is the national governing body of or responsible organisation for skydiving? And BPA is not. BPA.
AAD Visual Pride.
Okay. The BPA is not a valid answer. All right. And then we talk about the practical. Here's an example. Here is the prep for the practical demonstration of what you'll need to actually be able to demonstrate you're going through to provide the ground base. Yeah. Now, I talked earlier about being open and transparent about the assessment process. So here we have the different tasks, and the assessor will fill in how you did. Right? And it will be competent, not yet competent is the result, and they will actually explain why. Strengths, weaknesses, if you're not yet competent, what you will need to do to prove that you can become competent, so going forward what you need to adjust. Also, even if you are competent, areas you still maybe need to improve or can work on. This will be discussed with you, and there's the bottom of the form. You as the learner sign it to say that you've been taken through it and you understand it. We also have a process that if you don't agree, there will be a process that you can actually challenge it. But again, hopefully it's open and transparent enough, and there's honesty and there's trust involved that everyone will be actually understand why. And then once that's filled in, I said with the other supporting evidence is sent to British Skydiving, you get your qualification. This will be a piece of A4 paper, and everyone who's, I'm assuming everyone in this room's had it. GCSE, A-level, other kind of qualification. It's just that kind of document. Yeah, the certificate number, accreditation number, what the qualification is. And as here, it's accredited So it's awarded by First for Sport, but it's regulated by Ofqual. So I'm talking about standards again, and we talk about this internal quality assurance process. So while it is the training provider you've potentially paid money to who will be giving you that qualification, all of it has to go to British Skydiving to make sure it meets the minimum standard. It's not a case of turning up, they'll give you all the answers, yeah, you were good, carry on. There will be. So it gives confidence to everyone who's got that other coaches are at the same level. It gives confidence to people being coached by you who are willing to pay more to be coached by a foundation coach who will have confidence of you and your ability. Yep. Now, we talked about First for Sport. They will sample these portfolios and evidence packs to make sure they meet the standard. They will also come and observe courses. Now, obviously, they won't have an opinion on how to teach a head-down carve, but they will have an opinion on actually, are we just giving you the answers, or are we actually teaching you how to actually be a good coach? Costs. We talked about costs. So, you have your first year free subscription for UKCoaching. After that, annually, it's £14 a year. And you will need to have that to renew your rating. We'll talk about CPD in a minute, but you'll need that. There's a one-off fee of £54 if you're not already registered with First for Sport, and that's valid for 2 years. So the course is modular. So if you fail part of the course not yet competent, that doesn't mean you have to redo the whole course. You just do that module. Now, if it's just the questions that you've done wrong, let's simply go away, reread that specific section, come back, re-answer the question. If it's the skydiving part, go away, work on that skydiving skill, come back. But again, you will have 2 opportunities to go through the full process. And I say 2 years to do that. And the training provider may be charging you costs as well. So it's a bit like Flight 1 as a course. So other stuff. Every coach, we talked about this not being a prescriptive. It needs to be adaptive. You needs to, once you've got your qualification, you need to keep learning. So you will have a coach logbook. You will list in there all the coaching that you do. Now you will need to achieve CPD points. Now it'll be 20 CPD points. Minimum of 15 from coaching. So you get 1 CPD point for each person you coach. If you, it's a sliding scale. Coaching 4 people for over 10 jumps isn't 40 points. So, and you need to reach a minimum of 5 CPD points from non-skydiving. So that's actually from either reading more UKCoaching content, receiving coaching yourself to improve your personal skills, or attending workforce training as the FI-day before the Expo. So events like that. These will be listed in your logbook, and then what happens when you go for renewal, you present this to either your training provider or an advanced instructor who will actually check that you've got those points. So the idea, it's not just you do 5 skydives and therefore you can renew. We want to show that actually you're keeping your skills up to date and you're developing your skills.
So is this per year?
Yes. We have a change management process. It's very easy for any qualification. We write it. Not being funny, it's taken us best part of 3 years to get here. None of us want to touch it again for the next 5 years. No, and it immediately then becomes out of date and you have to do the whole process again. So we want feedback from the people going through the process. It could be, the assessors come to us and say, do you know what, everyone gets question 8 wrong. The way we've written it, it's wrong. We need to change the way that's... Or it could be, you go off into the rabbit warren that is UKCoaching and go, do you know what, that bit on coaching philosophy, that was all right, but I found this much better paper over here. You should point at this one. Or, again, a very key part of this is UKCoaching keep updating their content. They produce new, better papers all the time. So actually, the links might break, and you come to us and say, that link's broken, you need to point over here at this. So that's important. So we'll have a change management process. So you'll feed these changes into us. Every 6 months, we'll look at them and we'll make changes to the Foundation Coach Manual, to possibly possibly, to the learner pack, the questions and answers and that. We're going to create, they're called COPs, communities of practice. I talked earlier about coach-centric. Well, this is a very coach-centric qualification. Yeah. We've told you what skills you need. We've asked you the questions. We've told you what you need to be trained. We're going to create groups on Facebook for foundation coaches across all disciplines, the assessors and tutors. And actually then you'll just share information and knowledge. So you'll have peers who'll help you out when you go, I'm really struggling with this, teaching this skill. Or I have this individual who this is their goals and I'm really struggling to come up with a way of turning it from an ego goal to a mastery goal. So actually you'll be sharing knowledge across. And also this will be part of that change management process. I expect to see people in there moaning, this link is broken, fix it. I said we're developing this month, so by the end of the month we will have a web page with all this information on it, all the necessary paperwork, all the relevant links. And we'll be developing this year the advanced coach qualification. So actually, once people are qualified with the foundation coach, we'll actually be pointing people at what extra learning they now need to do, how they need to develop. Any questions on any of that? Sorry, I just rattled through it because I just realised what the time is and we're running out of time.
The webpage, is that the end of this month, as in a few days?
February, sorry. That's it. Cool. So what we've done so far is, I'll say, the course is registered with Ofqual. It's a live qualification. We've run a couple of trial courses, so we have qualified tutors, we have qualified assessor, and we have some coaches who are actually going through that qualification process. We have a training provider. I use the word only one at the moment. Hopefully we will have more. And there's a process that training providers have to go through. We just don't suddenly award it. But they need to have, the assessor needs to be an advanced instructor or above, just to understand. So Stu Auburn, Winter Sun Skydiving, is our current training provider. I keep pointing at the back of the room and no one knows what I'm doing. He's sitting at the back of the room. And he will come and speak in a moment. And that kind of covers everything. This has been basically a 3-year process. I need to get bigger slides. And there's a lot of people involved, so I want to thank those people up there for being involved. Does anyone have any questions? And I'd like to invite Stu to the front so he can answer some of those. There was a question about why people would do this and why not. I'm going to throw that to Stu and to an answer. Yeah, okay.
So my answer to that question, as someone who hasn't even got an FS valid coach rating anymore, is that actually it now makes it worthwhile getting this coach qualification, because it means that I can prove to myself, to non-skydivers and to my potential coachees that I know what I'm talking about, and that I'm not just here to get free jumps. And so therefore for me it's demonstrating to them that I'm taking this coaching business seriously, because I've invested time, some money and a lot of effort to do the job well. So that's why I would do it.
And just bouncing back on this, I completely agree with this. What I'm trying to say is, if we give people the opportunity to either go with the easy way to get your coach rating, or the hard or proper way to get a coach qualification, you're an integrate person, which is great, but not everybody is. And so realistically, a lot of especially young people in skydiving who will not necessarily have the funds to go for extra cost, you know, the incentive, besides I want to feel that I really owned my qualification and I want to prove to myself and my coachees that, you know, I'm taking this seriously, there isn't really any incentive. And so the follow-up on that is, actually it's a question, are the current instructor ratings externally recognized qualifications?
No.
So why are we implementing, and I'm guessing in the future, enforcing a standard on our coaches that we don't enforce on our instructors? Because, I mean, realistically, there are a few coaches in the UK at the moment that can live fully off coaching business, but there are not many of them. Whereas instructors, you know, a lot of them actually have full-time jobs on that.
Just a second. Only because we really won't have time.
Sorry, I had a lot of questions, so I'm
Sure.
going to stop now.
Watch this space. There is an instructor working group, and they're now looking at how they can import some of the learning that we've identified from developing these qualifications into the instructor courses as well, with the aim that eventually our instructor courses will also be externally validated and it will be a properly recognised qualification, as has happened in many sports across the whole remit. To answer your first question about incentive, I guess if you need the incentive to come and do this course when you can go and do the cheaper option, then that kind of says a bit about whether or not you're the right person to do the course. And I know that sounds like a bit of a glib answer, but having spent an awful long time developing the process and the packages and everything else, what I will say is this course isn't going to teach you how to teach a side slide. This course isn't going to teach you how to land a canopy better or how to teach somebody to land a canopy better. This course is going to teach you how to be a better coach. And coaching that we kind of recognise in our sport, we're kind of falling behind. Other sports have actually moved away over the last 10 years from the traditional method of coaching, which is more coach-centric and more like instruction, to a more coaching leadership style, which is more about managing people, leading them, and allowing them the room to develop and grow. So the course is 3 days. The assessment parts are based on your skydiving ability and coaching ability, but the actual input is on coaching, not on how to do FS.
I was just wondering, I'm sure a lot of people in skydiving, at least here, they will have some sort of background, maybe like mine, where I'm coming from previous coaching experiences. That can be personal training, or in my case, kickboxing. It's actually everything already certified, because, for example, already teaching in gyms to kids and to people. So now that I'm in skydiving, why would I go again throughout the same process instead of just getting my old coach ratings?
Yeah, and that's a question that's been asked before as well throughout this process. So you said you've gone for a coaching process to get qualified as a coach in, was it physical education or did you say?
Kickboxing, but yeah.
Yeah, kickboxing. So if I do this qualification, could I come and teach kickboxing?
No, but exactly. But
And there's your answer. It's about the coaching content bit. Yes, it means if you come and do the course, some of that will be familiar, but it's contextualising it to the skydiving environment and what it is we're trying to achieve. So that's the difference. It's a bit like I wouldn't dream of going into kickboxing, apart from the fact I'd probably end up very battered and bruised. But it's about that specific bit about your coaching in skydiving. And whilst we're not teaching you the techniques, we are teaching you how to use those skills to actually develop people and bring them on in the sport.
And I think we've got to be kind of a little bit specifically different here. Split the difference. So the Foundation Coach Manual would mostly take you through a lot of coaching knowledge and information you already know. So that part. It's when you go on to the course, it's about contextualising that knowledge into skydiving specific. So that part, we can't have prior learning. And I think, you know, Tash's answer was a perfect example of mastery goal against ego goal. You know, I want to get a coach rating. I want to get it now, as opposed to I want to be the best coach I can be, and I challenge myself to it. But also, there will be people with ego goal. Well, that's the old coach rating. That's the easy one. I want to go for the big new shiny badge. And I think, you know, and I'm predicting here, because I don't know, I think there will be some people who will transfer from the current coach rating to the qualification. But actually, the vast majority of people will be new people who, with the choice of the two, will go, actually, that's the one I want to go to. And again, in terms of cost, we're talking it's comparable. Like I mentioned Flight 1, but again, you're paying for the time of the tutors and for the assessor. So it's exactly the same. Yes. Oh, we've been thrown out. One last question, Cookie.
Okay, so especially as we saw earlier with the CSI rating becoming less and less relevant, we found my job zone at Langer, we've used the FS coach rating more and more as the introduction to becoming an instructor. What we do with that is we offer the FS coach rating as a free source. So no one actually gets paid to be to coach, which means that we offer training for the coaches, so the coaches get an instructor level of training to become the coaches, and we get them to teach all the people that have 20, 30, 40 jumps, and they do a lot of repetitive coaching, they get good at it. This rating, I worry, because of the costs involved in it and the effort involved, they then have to pay for it, and then we lose that free option for the student, and we lose the ability for the coaches that are learning to become better in skydivers and instructors and coaches. We lose that ability for them to become those coaches. There's not that freedom for them to learn how to do it.
Okay, so a couple of points on that. Part of the instructor working group looking at this is how we actually involve this into the BI phase, and it's likely that will become a requirement at some point in the future that you'll have done this course before you apply to be a BI. I get what you're saying about your particular PTO, and that's all very commendable. That doesn't work at other PTOs with their business models and everything else. That's not how every PTO is set up. But also, nobody's actually asked how much it costs yet. So you've all made this assumption it's going to put people off and everything else. So just a question for him. Who's done wind tunnel in the last 12 months and been coaching the wind tunnel? No, Martin's given you the costs for, so far, the £54 that you pay to UKCoaching. How much would you expect to pay to get a level 2 qualification in any sport at the college down the road? How much?
£4,000.
£4,000? Okay. I get what you're saying. The ones that have actually got an Ofqual level 2 rather than a local certificate, they're the ones that have got 4 figures in them. That's what this has got. The price of this course is £375, give or take, depending on what the PTO actually charges for the slots for the evaluation jumps. That would include the jumps, and that's why the price may vary depending on what the PTO charges me. So that goes back to my question. How much have people spent on wind tunnel coaching individually in the last 12 months? How much have people spent on Flight 1 courses in the last 12 months? Actually, this, for what you're getting from it, is actually really good value for money. So, the choice is yours.
Just one final thing on that point, and Langer is a different thing, but so Rich came on a training course. So Rich has been on a training course, and what you, Laura, are doing at Langer would fit very neatly into this. And if Langer became a training provider, you could provide it whatever cost you wanted to. So then it's time investment.
Zero cost.
Well, there's time investment and whatever cost. It's still £54. So it's a variation on that. So it's up to, and again, let's say that the part 2 of the skydiving content is what you're providing. I'm really sorry. I think I say.
Quick one. I know we can predict the future, but in the future, like, they're still going to be running parallels, rating and this course, or maybe in the future you're going to say the ratings are not valid?
Yeah, I mean, at some stage in the future, as long as this is successful, which I very much hope it will be, the old rating will, I use the word wither and die, but will be removed. Yes. The idea is that we want to professionalise coaching, and not professionalise it in everyone has to pay for it. What I mean is that you, as a coach, you will gain a qualification.